Man, 2024 is around the corner, and I feel like South Africans, man, do not have an alternative of the African National Congress. I honestly feel like South Africans do not have an alternative of the African National Congress, because I've been saying this thing, man, and I'm going to say it until 2024 comes. I don't believe that the opposition parties are ready to even battle with the African National Congress. I don't even think that they are ready to take on the African National Congress, because the fact that these guys are okay with being separated into these small groups, they don't even want to come together to form something so that they can fight this monster that is called the African National Congress, man. But they are divided into small groups. So I don't think they are providing South Africans with an alternative, man. I've heard several leaders, especially of these political parties, just like the Rise SA with Songezo Zibi, and Build One South Africa with Musi Maimane, with Shiluva, with I think it's Bongani Baloyi. These guys are saying that they are giving South Africans an alternative, but I don't feel like South Africans see them as an alternative. I don't feel like South Africans are actually contemplating about voting for these political parties, man. So South Africans, what are they going to do in 2024, man? They might as well do the same thing that they did in 2019. If people don't want to vote for the African National Congress, they're simply going to say to stay at home and not vote at all. That's what people are going to do, because guys, at some point we really have to be honest with ourselves. We really have to be honest with the mess that has been happening right now in our country. We really have to be honest with these smaller political parties that are mushrooming out of everywhere, to say that you guys are not providing South Africans with any alternative, man. Because South Africans, when they see these young political parties, the only thing that they see is that these guys, they simply want to go to parliament to live luxurious. They are not there to represent the needs of the people. That's why majority of these political parties, you cannot find them on the grassroots. You cannot find them in our townships. They are only doing these mainstream media interviews. They are doing these convention centers. They are doing the fancy convention centers, talking about how they are going to take the ANC out of power in 2024. But when it comes to the people, man, they are not the servants of the people. They see themselves as the leaders. They don't see themselves as servants of South Africans, man. So I honestly feel like South Africans don't have alternatives, man, going into 2024. I feel like right now South Africans are saying whatever that they want to say. They are saying the same things that they were saying in 2019, saying that I'm not going to vote for the African National Congress, I'm going to vote for this party. And right now in 2024, it's funny, man. You hear people going around saying that I'm going to vote for Build One South Africa, I'm going to vote for DA, and most of these guys, when they get to the booth, they vote for the African National Congress or the DA. So I don't think these smaller political parties, man, they don't even have a credibility to encourage people to vote for them, man. So do you feel like South Africans have an alternative? And who the hell are we going to vote for in 2024? Who the hell are we going to vote for in 2024? Because someone was saying that Ramaphosa might be fighting the presidency with Paul Mashatile, man. And I'm saying that, man, if Paul Mashatile wins the presidency of the African National Congress, man, the ANC is done. I don't see how Paul Mashatile is going to convince millions of South Africans to vote for him, man. The guy is not even likable as a human being. So I don't think South Africans are going to vote for him. I don't even know why he would be interested in participating for the presidency of the African National Congress, because it has nothing to do with how long you've been in politics. Sometimes it has anything to do with the likability, man. If you don't have charisma as a president, if you are not a likable human being as a president, man, it is going to be hard for people to vote for you, man. You look at people like Zuma, man. Can you imagine that South Africans gave Zuma 5 years, 10 years, man, rather. They gave Zuma 10 years. Irregardless, man, despite the fact that this guy literally never went to school. But South Africans gave him 10 years anyway. Guess why? Because he had that charisma, man. He was fun. He was a likable human being. It's just that the media, for some reason, they decided to go against him and expose him and everything. And you know that the whole thing is still happening between him and Karen Mon and that mess. I don't even want to touch that. It's a hot mess. But I don't think that someone like Paul Mashatile, man, South Africans can man, I don't think so, man. I don't think so, man. That's why the ANC, man, had to beg Ramaphosa to come back, because they knew after Zuma that, man, our party is dying. You know, after Ramaphosa, the ANC, the best thing that they can do is to nominate a female leader, man. You know, if the ANC nominate a female leader, man, I'm telling you, or if they take out Ramaphosa, man, they must replace Ramaphosa with a woman. If the ANC wants to win 2024, if you want to replace Ramaphosa with a woman. None of those guys there, those guys, they can win an ANC conference, but I don't think they can win any elections, man. I don't think they can win general elections. The same thing I was saying about John Steenhuisen, man. I was like, John Steenhuisen, I know the Democratic Alliance trusts you. I know that the Democratic Alliance has voted for you to be the leader of the party going into 2024, but I don't think that South Africans like you enough for you to be the president of South Africa. I don't think that you're going to get more votes than Mmusi Maimane. I honestly don't think that. I don't think that. Why? Not because John Steenhuisen is not, he's incompetent, or John Steenhuisen doesn't know what he's talking about. Simply because John Steenhuisen as a person, man, he's not a likable person. He's not a likable person. You know Helen Zille, man. Helen Zille knew how to finesse the game. Helen Zille knew how to finesse the game, man. That woman is an OG, man. Helen Zille is gangster as hell. Helen Zille knew how to finesse the game. Helen Zille would be out there wearing the traditional attires. Helen Zille would be there cooking with the three-leg pot. Helen Zille would be there doing everything, man. This woman was speaking Zulu, speaking Xhosa, doing everything to relate to majority of South Africans, man. But you look at John Steenhuisen. John Steenhuisen is a white man, just like Helen Zille is a white woman. But you look at the things that Helen Zille went an extra mile to make sure that she can maybe at least relate with South Africans. But you look at John Steenhuisen, man, how many black people can relate with John Steenhuisen, man? Helen Zille, man, I remember people used to welcome her in our townships because how she finessed the game, man. Helen Zille knew how to play the game. That is why Helen Zille, man, she took DA up there, and these guys will continue taking the DA down. Because these guys are not likable, man. John Steenhuisen, man, there's nothing. I don't believe that the South Africans are going to vote for John Steenhuisen to be the leader of the country, man. Maybe the DA has already developed its own base. Maybe those guys are going to vote for you. But in general, man, South Africans, I don't think South Africans can vote for John Steenhuisen to become the president, man. I don't even know why the Democratic Alliance has decided to choose John Steenhuisen to go against Ramaphosa and Julius Malema. Man, these guys are popular as hell. Julius Malema is popular as hell, man. Besides Julius Malema being smart, besides Julius Malema being articulate and everything, the one thing that people like about Julius Malema is that Julius Malema is a likable person. He's funny. He's a likable individual, man. He's funny. He's charismatic, man. That is why people that is why even people who don't like Julius Malema listen to Julius Malema. Because you don't know what is going to come out of his mouth. Just like Donald Trump, man. Wherever Donald Trump is standing there, you don't know the next thing that this guy is going to say. And people are so fascinated with that, man. This is the same thing that is happening with Julius Malema. People are fascinated with Malema because they don't know what Julius Malema is going to say next. So character, man, character plays a lot, man. Character plays a lot. So guys, who the hell are we going to vote for in 2024? That is my question for you. Who are we going to vote for in 2024, man? Who are we going to say, okay, maybe from 2024 going to 2029, I think you are going to be in charge of this country? Who?
And you might now be thinking, but they're talking about... Well, load shedding it is. If you know who you're voting for in the 2024 elections, who? How? Like, who is there? Like, next year's elections are going to be the most important since 1994 when South Africa became a democracy.
Man, that's what they always say, man. Even in 2019, I remember even people singing the slogans. People were preparing their lives post the ANC, saying that the ANC is done. It's a new South Africa. It's a new what? And Ramaphosa came with a new dawn. And the ANC is still in charge right now in 2023 in South Africa. So people have been saying this thing. So this is not new. This is the most important elections of our men. They always say this thing.
This might be the first time that the ANC doesn't get a 50% plus one vote majority. This is the first time that individual citizens can run on their own as candidates, don't need a political party. There are political rematches between old foes all over the map. Malema against his old party, the ANC. Maimane and Mashaba with their own political parties facing off against their old party, the Democratic Alliance.
And man, you look at Hemin Mashaba and you look at Mmusi Maimane, and the fact that these guys, they've opened two separate political parties, but when you listen to these guys talk about their political parties and what their political parties represent, man, these guys are talking about the same thing. But for some reason, these guys opened two separate political parties, man. It baffles me. I'm always like, why didn't you guys work together, man? Mmusi Maimane, why didn't you join Action SA or Hemin Mashaba, man? Why didn't you join Build One South Africa? But I still feel like Mmusi Maimane and Hemin Mashaba are supposed to work together. I feel like the leadership of Mmusi Maimane and Hemin Mashaba, they can really shake things up in South Africa, man. But for some reason, these guys, they have their own egos, so they've decided to open two separate political parties. But according to me, these are my opinions, guys. You are welcome to disagree with me. I am not the dictator here. You are welcome to disagree with me, but I'm saying that Mmusi Maimane and Hemin Mashaba, I feel like these guys, both of them, they should have been maybe under one political party, man. I don't feel like it is okay to have Build One South Africa and to have Action SA, whereas they believe in the same thing. Their policies are the same, man. They talk about the morals, they talk about the integrity and everything. Like, these guys are the same.
We have a convicted gangster running a political party and winning votes all over South Africa. And people don't know who to vote for. And the results of all the local elections we've been having in the last 2 years have been hard to read. Because yes, the ANC and the DA have been losing to people like the Freedom Front Plus, people like the IFP, people like the EFF. But they've also been holding their position and even growing in other areas. So it's really hard to make a convincing prediction or any significant read about what's going to happen in next year's 2024 presidential elections. And yet, President Ramaphosa recently said that anyone who thinks the ANC won't win next year's elections is silly. Which is mad.
Man, the president is telling you the truth. I know that you say that President Ramaphosa is silly, but the president is telling you the truth. I don't want to go again I don't want to go again, guys, and start venting about what the ANC is going to do. But you know that, like, President Ramaphosa is telling you the truth, man. The ANC is going to win again in 2024. Mainly because the opposition parties are not ready. They are not ready to get their hands dirty, man. These guys are not ready to take the fight from the African National Congress. They are not ready, man. The African National Congress, their campaigning strategy, it's lethal, man. They're going to blame apartheid, man. They're going to go to people there in our townships and remind our people there that we got you these houses, we got you the electricity, we got you the water, we are giving you the grants, we are giving your children the grants, we are giving you the elderly, we are giving them the grants, we are giving the people with disabilities the grants. The African National Congress is taking care of you, man. So people are going to think about these things before they vote for other political parties. So you are sadly mistaken if you think that average voters in South Africa are simply going to turn their backs on the African National Congress. Man, you are naive if you believe that average South Africans are simply going to turn their backs on the African National Congress, because no, majority of people in this country are poor people who depend on the African National Congress for the RDP houses. They depend on the African National Congress government for water. They depend on the ANC government for electricity. They depend on the ANC government for the grants. They depend on the ANC government for the 350s. They depend on the ANC government to give our elderly the grants. They depend on the ANC government to give the people with disabilities the grants, man. These are the issues that poor people in this country, they cherish them and they hold them close to their hearts. So it is not going to be so easy to take out the African National Congress, man, from power. I know that you say that it is mad. How can the president say that people who think the ANC is going to lose are silly? Of course, if you think the ANC is going to lose in 2024, you are silly. You are silly and you refuse to see what is happening right now. You are simply naive if you think that the ANC is going to lose in 2024. I'm telling you, you are silly.
ANC won't win next year's elections is silly, which is mad because the ANC has been such a disaster. So let's talk about next year's elections. Who is running for power? What are their strengths and weaknesses? Who might win the election? What might actually even happen, especially if the ANC drops below 50%? This is the issue with the 2024 national elections. And we have to start with the African National Congress.
Of course, guys, if you believe that the ANC is going to lose the elections in 2024, honestly, you are silly. You are silly, man. I'm sorry to say this, but you are silly. You are refusing to see what's happening. You don't want us to warn you, man. You are going to be one of those people who are going to complain about South Africans who continuously vote for the African National Congress despite the crappy job of the African National Congress. If you don't want to see, man, we've told you this, man. I've told you this thing for, man, a lot of my videos, man. You can go to maybe from now to the past 5 or 10 videos. I've been explaining to the people what the African National Congress is going to do. I've been telling the people that the African National Congress campaigning on Jajas based on what we have done since 1994, it is going to resonate with a lot of people, man. If you think that average South Africans are not going to resonate with what the ANC has done for them, man, you are sadly mistaken, because what? Most of those average South Africans are poor people, and those poor people, man, they have depended on the ANC government for basically everything. So you are silly if you think that South Africans are simply going to turn their backs on the African National Congress, man. Don't be silly, man. Don't be a silly individual, man. Don't be a silly individual. Don't be like these guys who go around saying stupid things like Isma Khashule saying he's going to win the entire Free State, man. Don't go around being like Musmeiman saying that if Ramaphosa and Malema don't win the presidency, he's going to be the one that is going to be the president of South Africa, man. These statements are ridiculous and they are stupid. These statements are ridiculous and they're also stupid. Because it honestly shows people that people like to live in that bubble, in that ignorance bubble. They don't want to live in reality, man. I'm living in reality, man. I'm seeing how South Africans behave. Because ANC might win with an outright majority. Guess why? Why would someone say that the ANC might win in an outright majority, man? You have to understand that a lot of people in 2019, instead of voting for a different political party, they decided to stay away. And if the ANC's message is strong enough in 2023, those people who didn't vote in 2019 are going to come back, and they're still going to vote for the African National Congress. This is what I'm telling you. Just because a lot of people decided to sit at home and not vote for the African National Congress, if the ANC manages to convince those people to come back and vote for the African National Congress, man, those people, if they decide to go to the polls and vote in 2024, they're going to vote for the African National Congress. So there's still a possibility of the ANC winning with an outright majority in 2024. I know it sounds crazy, but it is a possibility.
I'm sure you felt it recently. South Africans have been talking about it non-stop, about this sense of hopelessness all around the country. This sense that nothing is getting better, everything is worse than it was and falling apart from a few years ago. And that's all the ANC. They've had an absolute majority for such a long time, for our whole country's democracy since 1994, and everything is falling apart. Eskom, total shambles. And remember that our current president was on the Special Action Committee to fix Eskom like 10 years ago now. Load shedding has been born, been a toddler, gone through primary school. They're about to pick their matric subjects. That's for how long Eskom has been a shambles. Let's talk about roads. The potholes have potholes. It is so bad at this point in most of South Africa that people are kind of
The guy says the potholes have potholes, man.
half joking, but seriously moving to Cape Town because the roads are decent. People are uprooting their entire lives to save their backs because they're like, you know what? Cape Town is filthy expensive. But you know what's more expensive? Paying for a physio, a chiropractor, MRIs, x-rays, and a wheelchair when I'm older from how bad the roads are. It's a mess just to try to drive. Unemployment, still getting worse. Youth unemployment stats in South Africa are the worst in the whole world. And it's so hectic because when you look at the unemployment figures, it's us and Nigeria over 30%. And then the third and fourth are like low 20s to high teens. I think we as South Africans don't even take seriously how much worse we are in terms of employment.
Of course, man. Of course. This is why I'm saying, man, it baffles me when I see young people just relaxed, man. You know, young people in this country, we are simply relaxed, man. We are relaxed, man, about this whole thing. But this is going to kill us, man, because a lot of people are going to reach their 40s, their near 50s without any job experience, man. We were talking yesterday, my friend and I, we were talking with this lady. This lady, I think she's 29 years old. And she told me something so amazing, man. She said that she has never worked, man. She has never worked. She has never received a salary, man. Ever since, she has never received a salary. She has no work experience. But this lady, man, is 29 years old. She has no professional work experience, man. Of course, you're gonna get odd jobs there. But she has never been officially hired into a company, officially hired somewhere, man. She has never been there. She has never experienced a real salary in her bank account, man. She has never experienced that. And this person is 29 years old. Guys, this thing is sad, man. Just imagine, man. People are going to reach their 30s, their 40s with no job experience whatsoever. It is sad, man. And when you reach 35, they want to tell you, no, now you are old. Now you are old. You know that even the job applications are saying that 18 to 35. So the 70-year-olds in parliament are telling you that if you are 35 or older than 35, you are not supposed to work. But these guys, these 70-year-old magogos and Abum Kulus there in parliament, they are telling you that if you are 35 or older, you cannot work. So it's so sad, man. I'm sure right now there are people who are 35 and who have never experienced a job experience, man, who don't have a job experience. It was so sad, man. It was so surreal. I couldn't believe it. That a 29-year-old woman has never received a proper salary. She has never been officially appointed into anything. It is sad, man.
Healthcare, awful. Hospitals getting burnt down, not getting fixed quickly. Ambulances getting robbed in the streets. There was a hospital in the north of the country where the doctors got in trouble for putting newborn babies in cardboard boxes. But why did they do that? Because the department hadn't provided them incubators for these children. And this is all the government. This is all the ruling party. This is all the ANC. They're not in coalition. This is all on them. Their cadre deployment, their people for decades.
Man, don't talk about cadre deployment, man. I still want to do a video on cadre deployment because I don't know what the ANC is hiding. Because we want to see those to see those records, man. We want to see those cadre deployment records. We want to understand how the ANC actually appoints people, man. We see our infrastructure is collapsing. Nothing is working in South Africa, man. 99.9% of our ministers are incompetent fools, man. They don't know what they are doing. So we really need to see how the ANC appoints people, man. We need to know how the cadre deployment thing works. So I'm really interested, man. And shout out to the DA for pressing for pressing the ANC on this cadre deployment thing, man. I know the ANC now is going to Constitutional Court to try to seal these cadre deployment records, man. They are going to lose. They've already lost 2 cases. So going to Constitutional Court, man, it's a desperate measure, man. The ANC must release those records, man. The public is allowed, man. The public is entitled to see those records. We are entitled as people to see those records. We should, man. It is good. Man, don't talk about cadre deployment, man. Don't get me started. Jesus.
And when it comes to voting, you've got to be likable.
Exactly. This is why I said that if Paul Mashatile wins the ANC presidency, man, if Paul Mashatile wins the conference there, if he's going to compete with Ramaphosa, and for some reason he wins there the conference, man, the ANC is done. Because this guy, they're gonna expect this guy to represent the ANC on a national level. Man, he's going to lose. You heard what the guy is saying, man. This is what I was making, I was making this example before when I was also talking about John Steenhuisen, that John Steenhuisen, you are not a likable person, man. You are probably a good person in heart. You probably have a good heart. You probably have morals. You probably are a good person, but in public, man, you are not a likable person, man. Paul Mashatile, step aside. You are not a likable person, man. I would choose Fikile Mbalula before I choose Paul Mashatile to represent the ANC nationally. I would choose Fikile Mbalula. Why? Fikile Mbalula is charismatic. He's funny. Whenever he talks, people listen. Paul Mashatile, when he talks, people sleep. What do you mean? What do you mean?
People for decades. And when it comes to voting, you've got to be likable.
Fact.
You've got to be the kind of person people like, that they want to have around, to have in power. And the ANC does so many unlikable things. Most recently, the new vice president, Paul Mashatile, his VIP protection unit goons beat the living shit out of 2 everyday South Africans on the side of the road. Paul claimed he wasn't in the car. It seems now he was in the fucking car. And I don't...
Of course he was in the fucking car. He was. Of course he was in the car.
Care how tinted your windows are, your goons stopped on the side of the road. That happened, whether you think they were relieving themselves or not. So if the ANC is watching this country decay, doing nothing about it, ransacking the state through corruption, remember Digital Vibes? That was really not a long time ago.
Digital Vibes. I remember the Digital Vibes. Jeez, the Digital Vibes scandal, man. Is that one of Beckham Keys from Kize, yeah, of Zwelim Kize, yeah, Zwelim Kize there, buying a gown, a Louis Vuitton gown for a goat or something like that. I think it was Zwelim Kize's son or something who bought a goat or Louis Vuitton something for the goat, man. These guys are living in a movie, man.
Why are they still so confident that they're going to win this next election? Surely, in a healthy democracy, that kind of party would lose.
It won't lose because you have to understand that majority of South Africans are not educated. The majority of South Africans are poor, man. They rely on the ANC freebies to get by. This is why the ANC has always managed to get ahead. It has nothing to do with the fact that maybe there's something shady happening. Man, it's the fact that South Africans are not sophisticated enough, and majority of the voters are poor people who have depended on ANC freebies for everything to get by. So this is the reason why the ANC will always win. Man, you have to understand that the sophisticated people in this country, they make a small, it's a small margin, man. It is a small margin. As much as we would like to think that we are making sufficient noise, but there is a small margin of sophisticated people in South Africa, man. People right now, they simply cannot even watch some of these videos that we make because they don't have data. They don't have data. They are relying on the mainstream media for the information. They don't have data. They are not working. They are poor. Their education system is a shame. They went to school. By the time they finish school, they are more dumber. I mean, someone who just finished grade 12 is more stupid than someone who's still in grade 1. That's how bad our education system is right now. So in a normal world, in a normal world where a lot of people are sophisticated, man, you look at United States, man, those people there, they know how to practice, how to exercise this democracy thing, man. South Africans like to talk about exercising democracy, but we know nothing about exercising democracy because we've been with one party for 30 years. This one party has been, man, for 30 years. And we have the audacity to tell the Zimbabweans to get rid of ZANU-PF when we can't even get rid of the ANC. But there we go telling people to get rid of ZANU-PF when we can get rid of the ANC. So this whole democracy thing, we have never exercised it. As South Africans, we have never exercised the democracy, man. Never. So I understand you, my brother, man. In a normal country, ANC would have lost a long time ago, but sadly, this is South Africa. It is nothing normal. There is nothing normal about South Africa.
they'd be booted out. I think there are three reasons why Ramaphosa can be so confident that the ANC will win again.
Fact.
It's political infrastructure, his own popularity, and how terrible, how shamefully, embarrassingly bad all the opposition parties are.
Yes! Finally, someone has said it. Finally, someone has said it, man. The opposition parties are the worst, man. South Africans do not view these guys as an alternative, man. They do not view these guys as an alternative. I know that they're trying to... They rub their egos, telling themselves that they are the opposition leaders. They are rubbing their egos, telling themselves that, yeah... But honestly, honestly, guys, these guys are nothing. You see, these opposition parties, man, they are simply wasting time. They are simply wasting time. That's why I said that these political parties, especially the opposition parties, that just mushroomed out of nowhere. To me, it would have made sense if these guys would come under one umbrella and say that we are this thing. You know what? You know that thing that the DA tried to do with that Moonpeg thing? Man, that thing, it can work. It can work, man. Just imagine if all the political parties, if all the opposition parties go under one umbrella, man. They go under one umbrella. They come with the policies that, guys, as a coalition of these, as a coalition of opposition parties, these are the policies that we are presenting to you, to South Africans, and make noise. But these guys are like, they are separated there, man. They are separated. So the opposition parties, man, are terrible. Are shameful, are embarrassing. Are embarrassing. They are not providing any alternative for South Africans, man. I hope that these guys one day can wake up and understand that you guys are not providing any alternative for South Africans. You are not.
Let's talk about political infrastructure. All over the world, the way that you win elections is you have people going door to door, speaking to people on different streets, different homes, different communities, and saying, I to you right now say, this is who you should vote for. I believe that this is the best party or the best individual to lead this country, and the best for us, you and me, on this street, on this corner, right now. That is so much more compelling to people and persuasive than faces or names on a ballot, or people shouting on YouTube, ironically. Because
Exactly. These guys, they cannot take the fight from the ANC, from Sandton Convention Center. They cannot take the fight from the ANC, from the mainstream media interviews, man. These guys are not ready to get their hands dirty. I've been saying this thing for 2 weeks straight right now. These guys are not ready to get their hands dirty. They're not ready to come to our neighborhoods. But you are dealing with the African National Congress. The ANC is not shy, man, to come to the people, to talk to the people. The African National Congress is not shy. It's not shy to get their hands dirty. This is the reason why the African National Congress is going to win in 2024, man. The ANC is not shy. Our people are always welcoming to the African National Congress. It doesn't matter what the ANC does. But when the ANC starts to campaign and starts to go to our communities, many people are welcoming to them. You know, before you know it, man, Ramaphosa will be kissing our grandmothers. He will be washing their feet. All of these guys are going to vote for the African National Congress. All of them.
is it's the human connection right now. The ANC is the only political party that is everywhere in this country. Every neighborhood, every community, every town, every city, every dorpy has a branch, probably a youth organization, a women's league. They are everywhere. No other political party in this country has that. Not even close, not even a dent. So already the ANC has the political infrastructure to win. Then there's Ramaphosa's popularity, because sure, he's taken some knocks in the last few years, but he is still by a mile, by all polls, the most popular South African politician that there is. The ANC definitely knows this. He radically outcompetes them in popularity.
Facts, man. People in 2019 voted for Ramaphosa. They didn't vote for the ANC. People voted for Ramaphosa. If you remember, in 2019, people voted for Ramaphosa. This is why Musi Maimane says that he believes that he can be a candidate. He believes that if Julius Malema and Ramaphosa are not the presidents in 2024, he is the one who's supposed to be the president in 2024. Why? Because the African National Congress followed Ramaphosa in 2019. The people of South Africa followed Ramaphosa in 2019. So he believes that as people, what they sell, as personalities, that's what really counts. Like the fact that they have separate political parties, it is nothing. According to Musima Imani, what counts is people following you. Just like he says that when Malema was in the ANC, when Malema left the ANC and went to the EFF, some people went from the ANC and followed Malema to the EFF. So Musima Imani is banking on his popularity right now. He's banking on his popularity by saying that the South Africans followed Ramaphosa in 2019. It had nothing to do with the African National Congress. So he says in 2024, people are going to vote for him. It is going to have nothing to do with the Build One South Africa. People are going to vote for Musime Imani because they know Musime Imani and they trust Musime Imani. That's what he said.
And the final reason, whether you want to hear it or not, South Africans' opposition parties are absolutely shockingly bad. Like, if I was them, I would be so embarrassed because the shambles that I just described to you, the absolute disaster, which is the ANC's reign, how in that context, with so much ammo, with so much anger and frustration and disappointment amongst the population, has no political party been able to mount even a vaguely credible challenge? At this point, it's so bad that I feel like if a Parktown prawn ran for power, it would beat all the opposition parties. So let's look at these opposition parties' strengths and weaknesses. What could be going wrong? Because democracy is always about picking the best of a bunch of bad options. But if the ANC is the best of the options, let's start with the biggest opposition party, the Democratic Alliance. Seemingly with the best chance of mounting a credible challenge to the ANC, and yet I don't think they've ever been further away from being able to do so as they are right now.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Especially with Steenhuisen. Especially with John Steenhuisen. These guys, they've taken like 10 steps backwards, man. 10 steps back. That's what the DA has done. With the John Steenhuisen, they've taken 10 steps back. They're far, man. They're far. With the Musime Imani, maybe something was gonna give, as much as the Musime Imani lost that 2%. But he fought a good fight. From Helen Zille's 22 to him to 20. He fought a good fight. But John Steenhuisen, man, guys.
They got big problems. They got a leadership that is radically uninspiring, like radically bad at leading, at rallying, at dancing to John Vulligate. But they've also got a problem with whiteness. Now, I'm not saying that having white leadership is a problem. I'm just saying that if your party has a specific issue that most of the country thinks that your party is the hangover of apartheid, and all the old apartheid voters and apologists are voting for you, then if you don't have effective black leadership, you have a problem. And if black people consistently leave, you got a really big problem. You know that saying, when there's smoke, there's fire? It means when there's smoke, there's probably a fire. Like if there are one or two allegations of something, then it might be true. But if there are a lot of allegations, a lot of smoke, there's probably a fire. Because the more smoke there is, and the less likely it is that that smoke is coming from, a candle, or a vape, or the exhaust pipe of a really old car. And you start to hear fire engine sirens, and you think, maybe there's a fire. And I mean, really, this leadership. Helen Zille is still there, telling us that colonialism brought good things to Southern Africa that otherwise would never have come here, or couldn't have come here in any other way, like running water and bricks. Then there's John Steenhuisen, the human Hadidar. Like seriously, next time you hear him speak, just close your eyes. You'll never be able to unhear it. And the unlikability is a problem even in lower positions of power, like J.P. Smith with the taxi strikes, when he inflamed tensions and made the whole situation far worse by, on his own steam, saying that he, for any burned or attacked bus, would just impound 25 taxis as like a punishment to the whole industry abstractly. And that made the whole situation way worse. And the people who ended up suffering were the people of Cape Town, the widest city, who need those taxis, who needed them back for transport, for money, for the functioning of their lives. The DA has a serious likability crisis. And strategically, they've also pivoted from the Musi Mamane days of trying to appeal to the whole country and get voters from everywhere to trying to keep the minority votes. They're fighting with the Freedom Front Plus for conservative, often bigoted white voters right now.
Yeah, exactly, man. The DA is going after the Freedom Front Plus voters right now. It's almost as if the DA is no longer interested in appealing to all South Africans at this point. Honestly. That's why I said, guys, likability is going to play a huge factor, man. Likability is going to play a huge factor, man.
So the strategy, the likability, the alienating of black leaders and voters, DA, it's not happening. Next up is the economic freedom fighters. Now, what does their future hold? It depends on who you ask. Some people say that Julius Malema, particularly after the Kill the Boer song, it's his latest incredibly provocative stunt, which, let's be clear, is another example of the fact that whatever you think about his positions, he is an incredible politician. Maybe the most talented and absolutely world-class politician. That doesn't make him good or bad, don't misunderstand me. But when politics are about always being the center of attention, in the spotlight, the one who is talked about the most, that's how you get people to consider you and take you seriously as someone to vote for. The EFF doesn't have the political structures that the ANC does to be in every community all the time, canvassing, going door to door. The next best strategy is extremely effective, which is to be in the media spotlight all the time, for better or worse. No publicity is bad publicity, and he's so good at that. But depends on who you ask, because he runs very divisive messages. He inflames lots of people. Some say the Kill the Boer song was harmless. Other people say that it was fundamentally divisive. And that's a problem if you're trying to get an enormous...
And I must say, man, the EFF supporters, man, the EFF supporters are loyal to the EFF. I feel like in time, the EFF supporters are going to be as problematic as the ANC supporters. With the kind of loyalty they have towards Malema and the party, they are going to be as problematic as the voters of the African National Congress. It's funny seeing the EFF supporters bashing the African National Congress voters of this loyalty towards the ANC, despite the fact that the ANC is grossly incompetent. But at the same time, man, the EFF supporters are the same way. You see, the EFF supporters and the ANC supporters are the same thing. At the same time, man, these guys are loyal to their political parties. They are loyal. No one can tell them anything. These guys are loyal to their political parties.
Enormous groundswell of votes. Also, the EFF have the problem of having risen on the identity of being disruptors. They lead a protest to shut down a cliques here. They get thrown out of parliament there, or they storm out of government. They interrupt speeches. And there's that old saying, I can't remember if it's from the Bible or maybe the Old Testament, that you call one person to knock down a house and you call the other person to build it again. And it's never the same person. And I think the EFF is going to have a problem for a while until they start governing municipalities and doing a really good job and showing that they can rule and provide good governance, that people are going to perceive them as the immature party, or at least the one which is really good at disrupting but not good at building. Next is the IFP, the Inkatha Freedom Party. For the longest time, the party of Zulu people in KZN. They got absolutely eviscerated when Zuma was the president of the ANC, because he took all those Zulu votes to the ANC. But since then, particularly with the Zuma mess and the Ramaphosa mess, lots and lots and lots of voters in KZN have gone back to the IFP.
Yeah, they've gone back to the IFP, man. Ramaphosa is losing the ANC the votes there in KZN. Ramaphosa is losing the ANC the votes there in KZN.
So they're making trouble for the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. But anywhere else, non-existent. Then there are a few big names who've started smaller parties of their own, like Herman Mashaba. He did really well in the local government elections in Gauteng just now. And that was because he impressed a lot of people when he was the DA mayor in Gauteng. But his party, Action SA, doesn't have the political infrastructure, doesn't have enough money yet, or enough of a footprint or an impact all over the country to really cause a problem. Then poor old Musi Maimane. The most common thing that people say about him these days when they hear his voice is, what happened to him?
every time when I see Musi Maimane, the first thing that comes to my mind is, I remember the DA called this guy a failed experiment, man. Musi Maimane never healed from the DA calling him a failed experiment. I'm telling you. Musi Maimane never healed. I also said that Musi Maimane better hope that John Steenhuisen does worse, man. Musi Maimane, I'm sure right now Musi Maimane is waiting and he can't wait to see John Steenhuisen fail and actually take down the party. Because if John Steenhuisen performs better than Musi Maimane, man, Musi Maimane, they are going to turn you into a template, man. They are going to turn you into a template there in the Democratic Alliance. So you better hope that John Steenhuisen does not outperform you. Because if John Steenhuisen outperforms you, man, they're going to turn you into a template. You're going to be a permanent template in the Democratic Alliance, man. This is not what... If you want to be the leader of the Democratic Alliance, this is what you should not do. They will be putting your face there. This is not what you should be doing. These are the policies that Musi Maimane has followed, and these policies have crashed the party. So you better hope that John Steenhuisen does not outperform you, because if John Steenhuisen outperforms you, Musi Maimane, they are going to turn you into a template. I'm telling you.
Where did he go? What is he doing? Because it turns out that he has started a political party called Build One South Africa, BOSA, or BOSA, but he just hasn't been able to make the impact on South Africa's consciousness such that people even know that he is running.
Most of these political parties, we don't even know that they exist. Most of these political parties, our people on the ground, they don't know that these political parties exist. So it is very important what Homeboy was talking about here, the political infrastructure. That if you are not willing to take the fight from the ANC on the grassroots, on the townships, you are not ready to fight the African National Congress. You are not.
Which makes it very unlikely that he's going to get any votes. Then there's much smaller political parties. The Freedom Front Plus is a very specific kind of person.
But I don't think the Freedom Front Plus is a small party, man. The Freedom Front Plus has been there for such a long time. It's just that they have their loyal base. You know, this party has its own loyal base that will always vote for the Freedom Front Plus. I don't consider the Freedom Front Plus as a small party. I don't consider them as a small party. Honestly, guys, I don't consider Freedom Front Plus as a small party because these guys have been around for such a long time. Obviously, their party is not going to be as popular as the EFF or as the ANC, but when it comes to the people they represent, these guys, man, they are killing it. They are killing it. So I wouldn't necessarily call them a small party, just like the IFP. I wouldn't say the IFP is a small party. These guys are not small parties, man. These are the parties that, for some reason, they have managed to get people who are going to be loyal to them despite everything. And these people are going to keep the parties alive. And you look at parties like Freedom Front Plus, these guys, they have their own, because majority of people who vote for the Freedom Front Plus are the white African-speaking people. Most of these guys are the farmers and everything. So most of these guys, they will always vote for the Freedom Front Plus, because if they don't vote for the Freedom Front Plus, they don't have a representation there in Parliament, man. They cannot risk these idiots there in Parliament passing anything without them knowing. So they are going to vote for the Freedom Front Plus, just like with the IFP, just like with the ACDP. Man, these political parties, they don't have nothing. Especially these new political parties, they don't have nothing. They don't have nothing. They don't have nothing, man.
We'll vote for them. Not that many people, very specific, but I'm sure they'll hold on to them. Patricia de Lille's Good Party has kind of plateaued. They take some votes off of the DA, particularly in coloured communities, and they're both being decently challenged in some areas by the Patriotic Alliance now, which was formed in 2013 by, and this is true, convicted gangster Gayton McKenzie, and are now taking a fair chunk of votes off of the DA and Good in a ton of places, particularly coloured communities across the country. Although they keep running into this kind of not surprising problem that once they get to power in a place, we quickly find out that the people they've put in power committed some criminal acts, have committed criminal acts before. So it's hard to see with all these political parties where the challenge is going to come from. There's
they are similar with the ANC.
no inspiring leader who's capturing the hearts and minds of the vast swathe of the voting public of South Africa. There's no political party that is blowing minds and taking hearts, you know what I'm saying? And some people are saying, oh, but it's fine. Next year, for the first time, independents, individual candidates will be able to run for political office at the highest level without a political party. Zaki Ahmed, I think, has said quite a few times that he's intending to run, and there are a couple of others. But the problem goes right back to the beginning. How is one person going to compete with a massive political machine that has thousands of operators on the ground knocking on doors, convincing people to vote, that has huge funding to put them in public spaces, to put them in FNB Stadium, filling it up, to put them in the media spotlight? I mean, maybe Siya Kolisi could do it.
No.
But no one else.
Nah.
Not even him. Nah. And you might now be thinking, but they're talking about
Stage 6. Man, not even Siya Kolisi, man. Not even Siya Kolisi, man. The guy cannot save South Africa, man. South Africa right now. Not even Siya Kolisi, man. Siya Kolisi is playing for the Springboks, man. Majority of South Africans are not even watching the cricket. Majority of black South Africans are not even watching cricket. So a lot of people in our townships, they don't even know who Siya Kolisi is. Because they are not, they don't even relate with the sport that he plays.
But they're talking about
Stage 6.
Well, load shedding it is. So now you might be thinking, but Dan, what about some kind of dream rainbow coalition where all the opposition parties get together and decide to pool their support behind one person next year and tell all of their voters to vote for this one person? Maybe that will create a large enough political mass to fight the ANC. And to that I say, never going to happen. You know how I know? Because we've seen in all of these failed coalitions in these big cities where if all the opposition parties unite together, they have the collective power, enough votes and support to elect a mayor to lead in Tshwane, in Johannesburg, and all these other places. Even when the EFF chooses to stick with the ANC, they still have enough power to put a mayor in. And over, those coalitions fall apart. Because obviously all political parties are still self-interested. And maybe they don't want smaller political parties to get attention, particularly in the case of the DA. They don't want an Action SA mayor because that will give more attention and a potential success story to their rivals. Similarly, there are a lot of smaller opposition parties that don't want to work with the DA. They've accused them of being bullies and trying to strong-arm their own way because they're often the biggest opposition party in these potential coalitions, but also because they want to weaken the DA. They want to pull it down so they can rise up, take away some of their voters, as many of them have. And finally, these coalitions often don't work because a lot of these opposition parties, they know that their voters, their supporters, hate the other opposition parties too. A lot of people vote for Action SA because they're gutful of the DA.
But
So now Action SA can't easily, in good conscience, go in to shared political power with the Democratic Alliance. So what is possible? Well, the ANC might win 50% plus one vote majority. And then they can rule on their own. But if they fall beneath 50%, which a lot of polls have been showing is possible, then...
Man, I don't trust these polls, man. I believe that the ANC going into 2024, they're going to try to convince the South Africans that, guys, right now we are fighting for our existence. These guys are trying to get rid of your liberation movement. These guys are trying to take away your grants. These guys are trying to take away everything that the ANC has given to you. These guys are not going to build you new RDPs. These guys are not going to give you the grants. These guys are not going to do anything that the ANC was doing for you. So even those people who didn't vote in 2019, like, I fear that some of those people who didn't vote in 2019 are going to stand up in 2024 and vote for the African National Congress. This is why I said that, despite people saying that the ANC is not going to win, despite people saying that the ANC is not going to win in an outright majority in 2024, man, I will tell you that there's a possibility that the ANC might win on an outright majority, man. This is what Fikile Mbalula was talking about, the SG of the ANC. Even Ramaphosa right now, Ramaphosa will tell you that, man, we are not really looking into coalitions. We want to win in an outright majority. The ANC knows that if they can fire up that base, if their message can resonate with the people who didn't go to vote in 2019, man, I'm telling you, the ANC is going to win again in an outright majority, and people will be left there, man, with their jaws dropping, man. I'm telling you.
And there's a game to be played, because then they need to go into coalition with someone, and it depends on how many percent they need. They could go into partnership with one party. They could go into partnership with a small group of parties. And it will be an interesting situation, because on the one hand, a lot of opposition parties will want to be the chosen party, because they will want the power for their leaders. They will want the exposure to be able to do these important jobs, this important work. But on the other hand, they don't want to be going into bed with the ANC if they've run their entire campaign on trying to unseat the ruling party. So that's, I think, where the real question lies. And so who are we going to vote for? I personally don't know yet, because everybody's looking a bit cuck, to be honest. And I'm waiting to see who will move me the most before next year's election. Who is the best of the bad options? But I think what could be playing on a lot of people's minds if they choose not to vote for the ANC is, who do I choose? Because I'm not really choosing who I think would make a good ruling party, because they're not going to be the ruling party. Is it a party that will do what I like if they are the chosen party with the ANC?
What are your thoughts, guys? What are your thoughts on the conversation? What are your thoughts? Please tell me what you think on the comment section, man. I've already said whatever that I wanted to say. Please tell me what you think on the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button, and the most important part, subscribe. My name is Thomas Mabaso, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.